Welcome to Happy's Kitchen. Today we're making fish with preserved Chinese vegetables. So the Chinese vegetables that's traditionally used is a pickled mustard green. So if you're looking for that in the supermarket, that's what you should be looking for. It looks slightly different from what we have here, which is a pickled cabbage that we made in one of the other episodes. So because we have this homemade, that's what I'm using. If you don't make this and you want to buy this from the supermarket, you want to look for Chinese pickled mustard. Though making your own preserved vegetables is so easy, it only requires the vegetables, salt, water in a container. So I highly recommend that you check out my other episode and try this at home too. So the ingredients we're using today is the pickled cabbage that we made from the other episode, as well as pickled green hot peppers, pickled ginger, and fresh garlic. I also have a bundle of vermicelli, and then we have the fish preparation. So I want to show you how to slice the fish in a way that the texture will be consistent and a little bit better. So instead of just cutting straight down, in order for us to get these slices, what we actually want to do is cut diagonally, like this. This way you can control the thickness of the fillet, as well as get longer slices of fish. So today I'm using tilapia, but you can use any type of frozen or fresh fish fillet. So anything white, such as swai, basa, cod, haddock would all be good choices. So here, because the fish is already split, I'm going to cut this part in half and keep filleting like this. The traditional version of this dish is actually made with fresh fish, which would be the whole fish. The benefit of that is there's definitely the freshness that you can taste, and there is also the fish bone that you can use to do the broth. But today I'm making a simple weeknight version, so we're taking a lot of shortcuts today, such as starting with fillet instead of the whole fish. Okay, so here I'm using 3 fillets. So now that we have the fish fillet, what we want to do is we want to treat it a little bit. So I've already added to this a teaspoon of salt. I'm also going to add an egg white, a tablespoon of Chinese cooking wine, which you can also use any white wine that you may have at home to substitute, as well as a tablespoon of tapioca starch, which you can also use cornstarch to substitute. So the benefit of doing this with a fish is that instead of getting a flaky, easily breakable fish, you're going to end up with beautiful fillets that don't break apart and yet have a very tender texture to it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our fish that's been coated with starch and egg white, and we're going to put it in boiling water to pre-cook the fish. So if you're doing this on a weeknight, this is actually a step that you can take a little cheat and just put the fish in the soup that we're directly making. But the benefit of pre-cooking the fish is that because there's already starch on this, if you don't pre-cook the fish, you're going to end up clouding the soup. But it's really not a big deal, so if you're making this in a hurry, feel free to cut this part out. So the fish has been there for a little less than a minute. You can see that the water hasn't come to a boil. That's okay, because the fish cooks below 100 degrees Celsius, and also we're going to put the fish back into the soup for a little bit too. So at this point we're just essentially rinsing the fish off any extra egg white and starch. Now we're going to make our pickled vegetable soup in which the fish will go. So I just have a little bit of vegetable oil heating up on medium. I'm going to add to it our fresh garlic, our pickled ginger, as well as our pickled pepper. We're going to let this cook for a little bit to release the aromatics. So this has now been cooking for about 2 minutes, and you can see there's already some nice golden color on our garlic and our ginger. You can already smell the pickled vegetables. So now we're going to add our pickled cabbage. So we've cooked our cabbage for about a minute so that the cabbage softens a bit and we let the flavors combine. Now I'm going to add about 8 cups of chicken broth. You can also use vegetable broth or just hot water if you don't have broth at home. Of course, it'll taste better if you use a flavored base. So we're going to turn now the heat to high and we're going to let it come to a boil. After the soup comes to a boil, we can add our vermicelli. So I just have a bundle here and we're going to let that cook. Vermicelli cooks very quickly. After the soup comes back to a boil, about a minute or 2 is all it needs. So our vermicelli is now ready, and you can tell when you take a piece and you just squeeze it with your chopstick and easily breaks. That's when you know your vermicelli is ready. So we're now going to take our vermicelli out and into the bowl that we're going to plate our fish later. At this point, we're also going to take out our cabbage to give our fish a little bit more time or a little bit more room to cook in our broth. Now we're going to put our fish into the broth. At this point, you don't want your broth to be a big rolling boil, just a little simmer is fine. And we'll just let our fish simmer in here for about a minute. So our fish has been simmering. Now we can turn off the flame and plate the fish. And then we'll put the soup on top later. So something to note is I did not add salt because my chicken broth was already salted. So if you're using unsalted chicken broth or other types of liquid that doesn't have salt, you should season your broth to taste. So we've plated the fish and you can see how beautiful it is. It's a milky white color, and the way that we slice the fish diagonally, the thickness is quite even throughout. The last step to this is simply adding our beautiful milky broth over our dish of vermicelli, vegetables, and fish on top.